every time we go to the bathroom. So I'm talking about the urine, not the other stuff. So urine is actually sterile, and it's basically straight nitrogen. And that's why if you have your compost pile in a place where men in your life can pee on it, it's a great thing. But otherwise, you can put a bucket in your bathroom, collect some urine, and dilute it 10 to 1, and then use that to water your garden with, and your plants will love you. Very, very simple way. It's liquid nitrogen is all urine is. Yeah. And it keeps you don't have to flush the toilet as often, so you're saving water and you're saving the environment. You can feel like you've done a really good thing. Okay. So nitrogen, the other things that they test for are phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and other micronutrients. Each of these are very important. Calcium is usually comes if you put lime on your soil. Generally there's a lot of calcium in that lime, so you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It also usually has magnesium in it as well. If you're putting lime on your garden, you can buy actual agricultural lime in the store in Home Depot or Mill and Feed. You can also use wood ash from your wood stove if you have one. So when you clean it out, just make sure you keep it dry, and in the spring you can spread it out on your garden. And the wood ash is nice because it actually has some of the other micronutrients in it as well.
Why do you need to keep it dry?
Because the nutrients will leach out with the water. So keep in mind that a lot of these nutrients are water soluble. So one, they need water in the soil in order to be absorbed in the plants, but too much water can leach them out of your garden. So you don't want to overwater your garden. You don't want to give it too much water. You want to give it enough, but not too much. As far as watering my garden goes, I really like to give it about 1 inch of water at a time. So if you have a little rain gauge, you can stick that in your garden, and when you water it, you can just kind of tell how much water you're giving it, because it's hard to tell when you're using a hose and a sprinkler, how much is actually getting into your soil. If you're using a hose and you're standing there watering it, you're probably not getting enough water. And you can go and stick your finger in the soil after you've watered. Make sure that it's wet down up to your fingers, the end of your finger, because a lot of times it'll look wet, but it'll only be wet on the very surface, and down below it will be dry. And that creates a really bad situation for your plants because their roots are down here. They're not right on the surface.
So if you're watering 1 inch at a time and it's not wet all the way down,
Then just water a little bit more.
so this test is more important than the 1 inch.
Yeah. Yeah, generally 1 inch of water will go, obviously it will go deeper than an inch down. It will go deeper. So, and that's also important too. A lot of times, rain in Alaska summers is really sprinkly, We'll get a rain and it'll seem like it's been raining for days, but it's really only been like 1/4 of an inch. So it's important to know how much rain are we actually getting, and how much, if it is raining, but it's not raining a lot, sometimes that's the best time to go out and water your garden and get it the rest of the water that it needs, instead of letting it, just pan the top. Yeah.
How nitrogenous is the horse manure?
What, say that again?
How nitrogenous is the horse manure?
It depends on how old it is and how long it's been sitting there. Horse manure tends to be pretty woody, so it tends to be pretty carbonous in my experience. But really fresh horse manure can be pretty nitrogen rich.
Would it be a good thing to put on top of cardboard?
Yeah. Yeah, it would be.
The fresher the better?
if you're using really fresh stuff, you're gonna need to mix in some sort of carbonous material, such as leaves or straw, or shredded paper or something like that.
When you're doing your lasagna business, why don't you have layers of dirt?
You could, but it's not really necessary. If you have a lot of dirt and you wanted to layer it in there, it would probably help it break down. But, you know, I find putting just a little thin layer of dirt on the top is sufficient and helps it get going. It also kind of caps it off so that it keeps the moisture in better, because the moisture is really what's going to help that bed decompose. Yeah. So, other things that this soil test tested for is lead, and that can be a concern for people that are gardening close to an older house. You know, something before the 70s. A lot of times they use lead paint, so you'll definitely, it's a good idea to check that out. Lead is a concern if it's in your soil above 300 parts per million. There is naturally occurring lead in the soil, so below that, apparently it's okay, it's fine.
What's the remediation?
The remediation for lead?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. I would grow non-food crops there, maybe even a cover crop, something that you're gonna pull out, like clover or something that will kind of absorb that lead, and then, you know, do it for 3 or 4 years and test it again, and then see if that's helped. Yeah.
Clover, is there anything besides clover that's good? Clover out of the yard.
I know, that's funny. My parents are really against clover, but clover is actually so good for your yard because it fixes nitrogen, and so it's basically fertilizing your lawn for you. And it's got the flowers, which are great for bees and stuff. My mom is always like, you know, if you just dug up a couple of those dandelions a day, you could get rid of them all. No, I want the dandelions there. Because the dandelions are actually dynamic accumulators. They go really deep down into the soil with a long taproot, and they bring up these nutrients from way deep down, and they concentrate them in their leaves. And when you cut the lawn, then it puts those nutrients back onto the lawn and gives it.
So they spread.
Well, they spread because of the seeds, yeah, but especially, you know, some dandelions are good for your lawn.
What
So,
else is a nitrogen fixer besides
clover.
clover?
Beans are,
What's that?
beans,
Beans, beans and peas and
But then you wouldn't
lupin.
you wouldn't want to eat them if you're trying to get, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you're thinking about the lead, it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be a nitrogen fixer. It can be any green plant that you grow, that you rip up.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking of something that's easy to grow.
Because we painted our house,
Uh-huh.
and we sprayed the old paint, and we noticed that I think it's from the 50s.
Yeah.
So we tried to collect as much, of course, as we
Right.
could, but I know. So all around the house, I don't usually grow food there, but it'd be nice to figure
know.
out a way that.
I would get it tested.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
And then
definitely
to
get it
plant
tested.
clover around the house?
Yeah, or
On purpose.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something else.
Right now, there are just tulips.
Sunflowers.
Bioaccumulators.
Yeah, yeah. Probably wouldn't want to plant more dandelions, but that would be a good one. Comfrey would be another good one. That spreads really a lot. It can spread a lot. It's the only thing it's hard to get rid of once you have it.
Sunflowers, apparently.
Sunflowers, yeah, that's what she just
Yeah.
said. Which is good because they're annual and you can remove them, and then, you know, after 3 or 4 years, you can see how it is.
So I'm not really familiar with a lot of like ground covers that are up here in this area, but with like lineum. Do you have lineum up here or?
I don't know, lady.